Hey gamers, Maniac here with GamingStats.net. My apologies for this being so dark. We haven't had a sunny day in probably the past 5 months, and I have to go to E3 next week, and so because of that I wanted to get this released at this time, and the forecasts are saying that there's not a chance of there being a sunny day for any of the upcoming days, so I wanted to get this thing done, and so my apologies, please blame the weather. So this video is intended for anybody that's interested in picking up any of the D&D 5th edition books. I just wanted to make a quick statement to you guys, just some tips and guidelines for finding books and what to look for when you're book shopping, if you will. Not all D&D 5th edition books are the same, and that's just what I wanted to make here. Anybody that might visit the D&D 5th edition website, which is at dnd.wizards.com, will find information about all of the books that are currently available in the 5th edition, some expansions, some novelties, that sort of stuff, basically. They'll also find things like the basic player rules for anybody that hasn't had a chance to pick up the book yet, so they can learn how to play and create simple characters. However, anybody that might be interested in picking up a book should be on notice that over the course of some of these D&D books being reprinted and republished, like with anything, books are popular, books are reprinted, would do well to know that sometimes Wizards likes to include additions, addendums, and new information and corrections in their books. And we're going to use the Player's Handbook as an example of that. Now, up until this point, Wizards has only corrected or added corrections to 5 books, and you can find the information for that books. They're called Errata for those books right here. You can see that the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, the Dungeon Master's Guide, Horde of the Dragon Queen module, and the Princes of the Apocalypse. I think that's the name of it right here. Yep, the Princes of the Apocalypse have been reprinted with new information and errata. If you're on your way to the bookstore to pick up one of these books, I highly recommend looking for the books that have the new information on them, because that way you won't have to, take some extra steps. Basically, you'll have the information you need right there in your book already. So, for those of you who already have copies of the books already with you, how do you know if your books actually include the information, the changes? That's a bit harder for me to explain, because some of these books, particularly the Monster Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide, have been reprinted twice or have had adjustments and changes done twice. However, the Player's Handbook and Horde of the Dragon Queen have only had 1 reprintings with errata information. Now, if you go to the websites, which are listed right here, you'll find all the information that you need about all the different changes. I've printed them out here, and I usually keep them, but all that information can be printed out. They include full PDFs with all the changes on them. So if you happen to not have the changes in your books, then you can simply just print this information out and use it all you want. As you can see here, I've got them all printed out, so I have all the changes. But it always helps to have the actual information in the book. And the way to tell, at least for the Player's Handbook, the first change and the only changes that were done after the 3rd printing of the book. And you can find out if your book actually includes the changes by simply turning to, not this page, I believe it's the credits page, yep. The credits page right here, and you can see that the original printing listing is listed as August 2014, but you can see right next to it, it says this printing includes corrections. Since only one version of the Player's Handbook has, only one reprinting, I should say, or one set of corrections has been done for the Player's Handbook, then it's a fair bet to say that if your book includes that, at least as of the time of this video being recorded, you have all the corrections and errata in your Player's Handbook already. And if you had one of the first printings of the book that doesn't include the corrections, then you can simply just go to that website and download the errata that you need and print it out. And these are considered actual adjustments and rules. You can see all the changes that they've made over the course of this, and as you can see, there's a lot of them here. But all these changes are considered valid changes to the book, and can be used in any official D&D Adventures function. For other books, like let's say, for example, the Dungeon Master's Guide. That's a bit tougher because there have been at least 6 printings of this book done and at least 2 different sets of errata that have been done for them. So, for example, most of the changes were done in the third reprinting. So, this book right here was done somewhere between the 3rd and the 6th reprinting. So, while it includes some of, if I can find the actual page that says this, well, it includes some of the changes that were done. If I can actually turn to the right page, I'm sorry. Well, this particular version of the book includes some of the changes that were included in the errata. As you can see here, it does say this printing includes corrections. I've checked all the information in this book versus all the information that was on this errata, and I found that while many of the changes were done there from the 3rd reprinting, this particular version of the book does not include information added in the 6th reprinting. So usually the errata pages will actually include, and you can see them, you'll probably be able to see them very quickly. Where is it? Any information that's included, as you can see right here, 6th printing, is information that you can check specifically for the book. Now, most of these changes, like I said, were brought in. I can tell that they're in here, but anything that was included in the 6th printing is not in this particular book, and so I'll have to cite to this if I need to, or my Dungeon Master will have to cite to this if any changes are made. For books like Hoard of the Dragon Queen, while this reprinting was done more recently, there only was 1 reprinting done for this. By the time the 6th reprinting happened, they added the changes there. And so you could probably tell that if you check your book, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, and it says it includes corrections, it probably does. Now, my copy is brand new, probably from a recent printing, so I know I have these corrections in here. But I've become a bit wary. What this has kind of done is that while this information is available, I want to make sure that I have the most recent copies of the books. And the best way to tell if you can find this, or the best way to find out if you have the most recent version of the books, or if you're going to buy the most recent version of the books, is essentially to pick it up at your local bookstore or hobby shop, because then you can actually read or look at the book and make sure it has the most recent printing information. When you're buying your book online, even if you get a lower price on it, you do run the risk of having an outdated version of the book, which, while is not a deal breaker, especially if you got it for a discounted price, does add an extra step to your work. So here are the links for all of the errata that's been done, at least for right now. You can copy those down and use them all you need to. These are official from Wizards of the Coast, so these are not by any means house rules or illegal changes or anything like that. These are actual information from what Wizards has said. These changes are considered the way to play. Most of them are just adjustments and names and things like that, but they're a good idea to keep around, especially if you have other players that you're playing with that might have older versions of the book. At least somebody should keep these erratas around just so everybody's aware of the most recent version of the rules. Anybody that might have recently downloaded something along the lines of the recent Dungeon Master's Guide free rules, basic rules for either the Dungeon Master's Guide or the player's basic rules. If you've downloaded and printed out your copy sometime within the last year or two, you're fine because all the changes were included in these printouts. So you're going to be good there. So there's just a little tip for you DMs and wannabe players and things like that. Hopefully you guys have recent copies of your books. If not, here's a way to find out. Until next time, guys, my name is Maniac with GamingSuccess.net. Take care. Over and out.